Okay. So what's the best way? Should I start with strength training first and then go back to doing the cardio? I was running like an hour and a half every day.
And when did you stop running an hour and a half before?
Like my second trimester, because I have a really bad arrhythmia in my heart, and I just wasn't comfortable running because it was making the arrhythmia worse.
Sure. I say the second week, try a 10-minute mile. 6.5 minute mile is terrific, by the way. If you're able to do 4 miles under 30 minutes, that's terrific.
Yes.
Yes. And so for you, doing a 10-minute mile won't seem to be so hard. So I would say 1 to 2 miles when you first start. Just acclimate the body, get it back in, and you'll see you'll be able to pick up momentum in no time.
Does your body sort of remember?
Oh, yes, it absolutely does.
I feel like it's just so achy right now that it's not going to remember anything.
It's like having a fever when you think you're never going to recover and you're achy and you can't move. And then
that's right. All is lost, but it isn't lost. I want to thank Alicia for calling us. And we've got a bunch of other callers on the line. We don't want any of them to go away, but we do have to take a break. We have no choice here. We have to take a break. But we're coming right back. And don't go away. This is Dr. Frank Adams with John Sitaras. We're going to get you everybody into shape today. We'll be right back.
No referrals, no waiting room, no copay. Direct from the NYU Langone Medical Center. This is Doctor Radio, Sirius and XM.
Working out here on Sirius 114, XM 119. This is Dr. Radio, Dr. Frank Adams with fitness expert John Sitaras. I want to go right to our callers because they've been very patient to wait. And we have Will, North Carolina. Good morning, Will. Will is there?
Hello?
Hi, Will. You're on Dr. Radio.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for waiting for us.
No problem.
How can we help?
Basically, I've been working out pretty hard since beginning of February. I've lost about almost 40 pounds.
Congratulations.
And, so it's been going real well. But I've been working out about 5 times a week between kickboxing and circuit training and some other type of martial art type of programs. And where I'm at right now is the outside of my knees just ache. It's 4 inches below my knee up to my kneecap on both knees. And a couple guys in the class explained to me that there's some type of tendon that goes from my hip.
Yeah, patella tendon.
Yeah, and they showed me a stretch for that. And I've been stretching it for, 2 or 3 weeks now without any relief at all.
Actually, when did you experience this? Just recently?
No, it's been for about the last month.
And did you find it more so with the weight training or kickboxing or any specific area? Do you run as well?
I do not run. I do not run.
And jumping, do you jump?
Yeah, we do. Well, we do like explosive body squats.
Mm-hmm. Usually the patella tendon, if it gets tender, and usually we would call it patella tendonitis, and they have a nickname for that called a jumper's knee. So if there's a lot of explosive jumping up and down, it can actually make the tendon very tender and sensitive, and it does need time to actually heal. So instead of just giving all or nothing and taking off from exercises and losing that momentum, typically take out any exercises that you're jumping, usually on a straight line, because that will actually put the most pressure on the tendon and then it will get inflamed. And sometimes it can take about 6 to 8 weeks to actually recover.
Oh, wow.
And so, well, actually, the basketball players are known for getting it, and they call it the jumper's knee. And that's actually the patella tendon as well. And sometimes, they actually have to inject and most of the time they don't have to inject cortisone shots in there, but you do want to actually recover. So instead of, it's usually jumping upstairs, running up, and explosive movements up on a straight line will give it the most. So I say continue with the weightlifting, but be a little bit more sensitive to the knee area, and it does actually have to recover. It will get worse if you continue. But, my hat goes off to you. You lost 40 pounds, and you're keeping the momentum, and you're going, and now you have to learn the balance of rest. But you can still do the upper body, abdominals, and cardio. Just be very sensitive to any type of explosive movements with the knee. Because the doctors will tell you, it could be patella tendonitis, and it could be left and right in just short-term period, and it'll take about a couple of months.
All right. Will?
I'm sorry. It's one of the stretches that they suggest that I do is cross my leg like you're sitting down, and that is that aggravating it?
Actually, with the patella tendon, when you're folding it, you're bending it like what you're doing and crossing it. Yes, you're actually putting unnecessary pressure. Always do it to the point where it doesn't pinch. If you find the crossroad that you're going a little bit more and it pinches, it will aggravate it. If you're doing the stretch and it doesn't aggravate it, then stop right there. But you can't. It's just as bad if you stretch an area that's aggravated as doing an explosive exercise.
Okay, well, thank you so much for calling Dr. Radio. I want to go to Roberta because she's been waiting a while. Good morning, Roberta.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. How can we help?
Well, I have an interesting problem in that I work out a good bit, and I'm a competitive race walker and average 60 miles a week. I swim 10,000 yards a week on a master's swim team. I row on a team. I do Bikram yoga. I teach a cycling spinning class.
Awesome.
I lift weights 3 or 4 times a week. I do CrossFit twice a week. And none of it wears me out, and none of it even gets my heart rate up. And the intensity, I'm like falling apart from the intensity of it. And so I'm kind of out of ideas on. I'm spending a ton of time on it, too.
So what is your objective? It sounds like you're in great shape. Your objective is to actually feel sore afterwards?
Well, part of it, I started doing all of it for stress reduction. I have a stressful job and trying to find something that would kind of take the edge off. And it doesn't even slow down, So
all the exercises, do you find that you get to de-stress somewhat, or not enough what you're looking for?
Well, like this morning I taught an hour spinning class and then went and got on a treadmill for a half hour and then lifted weights for 45 minutes. And I'm commuting to the office and just lifted weights as I was driving. And, so I still feel pretty keyed up. So I don't know how you get a higher burn or a better workout after you kind of reach a plateau.
Well, actually, then you actually have to start changing exercises, doing different angles. Whenever you hit a fiber from a new approach, it actually has to learn that movement and actually has to hit new fibers. Even at the slightest angle that you're doing it in physics, it usually... and it actually prevents injuries that way, too. Whenever you change a program and it hits a new area from a new direction, it won't have too much wear and tear in the other. So in your case, I would say, I wouldn't say turn it up a notch. I would say find a whole different set of exercises. And and usually, for the most part, people always measure their soreness. Years ago, it was taught that it was lactic acid. Now studies show that lactic acid leaves your body within several hours. And the tenderness that you're feeling is the delayed onset muscle soreness. And typically, not everyone feels that delayed onset muscle soreness. And they used to equate it that if you were sore and you had that soreness, then you did a great job and you pushed yourself. And if you weren't sore, you didn't. Now, genetics show that some people will not get it much. And if you're trying to push yourself to the extreme, that in order for you to start feeling certain areas and so that you feel like you really got a great job, you might never find that threshold. But you can, for a new set of a challenge, if you're mastered swimming and spinning and weightlifting. In terms of the weightlifting, I would say start doing different exercises that still hit the same primary muscles. And for cardio, I think that you should change it as well. Find some new exercises for cardio, and that would be so before your muscles can identify with it and master it. It's going to be that whole long period before you can get up to speed.
Okay.
All right. All right, Roberta. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks for calling.
Dr. Radio, and thank all our callers for calling Dr. Radio, Sirius 114, XM 119. And we're talking with John Sitaras, a fitness expert. I've noticed, John, most of the callers are people who are doing things. They're losing weight. They're getting into shape. I was kind of hoping people would call who haven't and wanted to know how to get started. So that's going to be my question. And again, this is someone who's not going to be able to come to the gym. What should the average person do to get started?
The average person should do basic training. Basic training means that 1 to 2 sets per primary muscle. So if you only have 1 or 2 days to go in, instead of spending the whole hour doing one specific area, I say do what you call your classic circuit training. You're hitting 1 to 2 sets per muscle. So if you're doing chest, bis, and tris, abdominals, shoulders, back, legs, all your primary muscles, so you don't spend too much time and you run out of time and you don't hit the other important areas of your body. Mm-hmm. So, and also cardio. So if you were you're short on time, you really want to, let's say, warm up and do 10-minute warm-up, some weight training where you're hitting a circuit training, 1 to 2 sets. Mm-hmm. That would be anywhere from, typically it would be nice to do 12 to 16 reps, which is a very safe, conservative amount, weight that you're not pushing too heavily, especially if you're a beginner. So if you can handle a weight comfortably, 12 to 16 reps, typically that would be great. And you usually want to rest anywhere from a minute and a half in between sets if the intensity is low. Mm-hmm. Or you can go from one exercise, rest a minute and go to another exercise. So while one muscle part is resting, the other one is working. So you loop back in. So basic training, you would want to do a nice circuit training, a little cardio, 20 minutes, and stretching. So if you're getting your cardio, some stretching, some circuit training, weightlifting, and you're hitting it twice a week, that would be a nice common denominator, the bare minimum, I'd say, that you get it. Instead of all or nothing. Most people say, well, I can't dedicate 5-6 days a week, so I end up with nothing. No, the muscle works slightly. Every movement you make, it's working. Mm-hmm. So twice per week.
Twice a week, and 20, 30 minutes?
20 minutes cardio, 20 minutes weightlifting, and about 15, 20 minutes stretching. Okay. Stretching will be just as important, so all three divided evenly. Mm-hmm. So if you have 45 minutes, I would do 15, 15, 15.
Okay. All right, that's for us people like myself who have to get started. But we've got John on the line from Ontario. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
How can we help?
Well, I have a question about soreness with exercise. Okay. Whenever I do lower body exercises with weights, be it calf raises or squats or lunges or even plyometric exercises like box jumps and different things like that, I tend to be sore for at least 3 or 4 days afterward. Not usually in my calves, but a lot in my hamstrings and my quads. And it's to the point that sometimes I have trouble walking. It's so sore. And I mean, I do run a few times a week, and I do play basketball and other sports at least 3 or 4 times a week. And I don't feel this type of pain and discomfort when I do upper body exercises.
Okay.